Welcome to the Register's Report. My name is John Buckley. I'm the Register of Deeds of Plymouth County. This show is about Plymouth County real estate. The headline for the month was Strong Start to 2020 Plymouth County Real Estate. This show is being taped in February. We're going to be reporting in the first segment about some of the recordings in the month of January. So you're going to see a list of deeds, and deeds are sales of property. So there are 672 deeds recorded in January, less than the 854 in December, more than the 572 last January. We're up 17% for the first month of 2020. You're going to see a listing now of all the sales of property in Plymouth County, 27 communities, 1 city, 26 towns. You can see that Plymouth had the most activity, Brockton being second, but every single one of our communities had real estate sales. One of the big stories for the month was mortgages. There were 1,862 mortgages recorded in January, less than the 2,407 in December, but up 70% compared to last January. People use mortgages to purchase properties, but also with the very, very low interest rates, people are refinancing their mortgages. We always follow the foreclosure issues very closely. Foreclosure deeds you're going to see up on the screen. There were 25 foreclosure deeds in January, slightly more than the 24 in December, 29% less than last January. That's a trend we've seen for several years. Hopefully foreclosures stay down. Foreclosure notices, we had a little uptick this month. Foreclosure notice is the first document we see that shows someone might be in trouble. There were 78 foreclosure notices, more than the 63 in December, and 13% higher than last year. You're going to see a listing of foreclosure deeds and notices by community. Brockton has been the community most beset by foreclosures, with Plymouth always being second. So if you're in trouble, don't hesitate. Reach out to a federal housing counselor. The longer you wait, the more difficult it is to help you out. Our free training session is next running on Thursday, March 5th, beginning at 9 a.m. Just call our office to register. There are 8 computers. It's a hands-on training for genealogists, anyone in the real estate business. It is well worth a couple hours of your time to know how to search our records. And we have so much available on our site now that people aren't even aware of, so it's good for that purpose too. I have a great guest in the next segment, Angelo Nuby from MassHousing. We'll talk about their current and future products coming out from MassHousing. Welcome back to the Register's Report. My name is John Buckley. I'm the Register of Deeds of Plymouth County. In this segment of the show, we always do something educational in nature. We've had surveyors, appraisers, many realtors, builders, anyone that's involved in the real estate community. And I have a great repeat guest today, Angelo Nuby of MassHousing, who's going to talk about MassHousing and some of their new programs. Welcome, Angelo.
Thank you, John. Thank you for inviting me back.
So why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about how you got connected with MassHousing to begin with?
Certainly. My past started back actually in Brockton, at Brockton High School. Moved on to Grambling University in Louisiana and came back looking to start a career, and actually ended up in the mortgage business as a loan underwriter with Plymouth 5 Cent Savings Bank, which no longer, long time ago, which no longer exists. Citizens Bank worked right down on the waterfront. And from there, I moved into retail banking. and spent several years with many of the local banks. As anyone who's ever been in banking, you work for several banks. Rockland Trust, Santander Sovereign, ended up with Fleet back in Brockton with Fleet Bank, and then ultimately transitioned back into the mortgage business with MassHousing as a relationship manager. And now I work with local municipalities, faith-based organizations, nonprofits, and there's a great one out of Brockton, which is NeighborWorks Housing Solutions. They're out of Quincy, Brockton, and New Bedford area. So I work very closely with them, and also our lender partners, and of course our partners who are involved in any way with the mortgage business. And currently we'll be covering the whole state and working for MassHousing to get the word out, and working primarily again with first-time home buyers to assist them in buying a home the right way.
So how many years have you been with MassHousing?
I've been with MassHousing going on, it'll be 13 years.
Wow.
And
So you've seen a lot.
I've seen a lot.
Yeah.
I started with MassHousing during the mortgage crisis back in 2007, and probably spent the first couple of years helping homeowners in crisis kind of work through those issues.
I remember, because we were all working together on the foreclosure crisis, trying to get people modified and their loans and guidance, and they were getting a lot of bad guidance from people they get, in many cases, predator lenders, and then they had predator people that were trying to tell them what to do.
Right, trying to help them out.
Yeah,
And it is kind of interesting how we've kind of gone through the transition over the years, and I'm starting to hear more and more that some of those bad players are coming back in, and some of the products that actually kind of crept into the mortgage business is starting to move through some of the cracks, and we're seeing some of those types of loans that we thought we rid ourselves of, and they're coming back.
So let's talk a bit about current opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you have a lot of opportunities for people, purchases, repurchases, first-time home buyers, and all that. So why don't you talk a little bit about some of your current programs, and then we can talk about a new program that's coming out.
Certainly. Well, MassHousing.com. MassHousing is of course a quasi-public organization, statewide organization, and our primary goal and our primary mission is to assist low and moderate income prospective home buyers. Not just first-time home buyers, though. We can work with individual homeowners who are refinancing, or individuals who are buying up, and going back with the folks back in 2007 who were in the mortgage crisis, we were able to refinance many of those folks because they didn't have a lot of equity, and with our particular program, we were able to come in and assist many of those folks. So as we move forward, we've taken those same programs, low and moderate income folks, which, for instance, in the case of Plymouth County, that may mean that you could earn up to $147,000 and still qualify for a MassHousing loan. So we've got a wide range of income guidelines so that we can help and assist a wide range of consumers. But our programs are meant to assist individuals and families in buying single families, condominiums, 2s, 3s, and 4s. Anywhere from 3% down to 5% down on multifamilies. And we have a wide range of products, so that whether you're dealing with someone who is purchasing an affordable unit, and many families are finding themselves buying affordable units now, to those who are buying that first home, and helping them buy that first home up to the Fannie Mae guidelines. So, if someone's looking to buy a home and they have income ranges up to that $147,000, or buying single family or condominium up to that $500,000+ range, which sounds like a lot now compared to where we were a few years ago. But we're able to utilize our programs and help those folks buy. And moving into some of the other programs, our Operation Welcome Home, which is for our service members, National Guard, Coast Guard members, who are either currently or formerly in the military, assisting them in buying a home, and also giving them a little bump at the end, so that if you're in the military or out of the military, Coast Guard, National Guard, utilizing a MassHousing product and giving them a little bump at the end of $2,500 for closing cost.
How do people generally hear about the products that you offer?
The best way, of course, is to go to our website, MassHousing.com. But many others hear about us through our lender partners. Right. Our lenders who are out there, we have over 150 lenders across the state. We have nonprofit partners, about 63 of those across the state, where lenders, where consumers will go out, they'll reach out to the lenders, they'll reach out to their realtor partners also. Right. And they have to take that first-time homebuyer class. Right. We want the consumer to be well-educated, well-prepared, so we have them take the first-time homebuyer class. They will then move into putting together a team, which would include a realtor, a lender, a nonprofit partner, an attorney possibly. And once they've taken that class, they sit down with that loan officer, become pre-approved, and that loan officer will then take them through the steps of obtaining a MassHousing loan.
So we've had a lot of realtors on this show, as I know you know, and most, if not all of them, won't even talk to somebody without a pre-approval.
Exactly. It's so important for that consumer to know exactly where they stand. Mm-hmm. So getting that pre-approval allows them to go out there, and regardless of whether or not they're buying a single family or a condominium, they know where they stand, and it's so important to get that pre-approval, know how much you can afford, and then shop also for any grant programs, down payment and closing cost assistance programs, which we offer, but there are many others that are out there. Many of the communities, Plymouth, Brockton, there are several cities and towns that offer down payment and closing cost assistance, and learning where those programs are, when you're working with a really good loan officer and a really good realtor, they're able to put you in the right place, right program, to minimize any of the issues that might occur later on in home ownership.
So if there's a potential buyer out there watching this show, what would you advise them to do as their first step? So
the first step I would say is you want to know where your credit is, certainly. Right. Determining what your credit score is a great first step. Annualcreditreport.com is a great site to go to. You will have to pay extra for the credit score, but knowing where you stand. The next step is taking the first-time homebuyer class, checking in with a good local nonprofit. You've got the Plymouth Redevelopment Authority here. They offer first-time homebuyer classes. Then outside this area, if you're heading south, you've got HAC in Barnstable, and you've got many other nonprofits in the area. Housing Solutions, actually with now NeighborWorks Housing Solutions.
This show goes to Plymouth, Duxbury, Kingston, and Pembroke. So it certainly covers that.
Certainly covers that range. And once you have your certificate in hand, which usually covers 2 to 3 years, if you're not really ready to buy now, then that next step is to the realtor. But that first step is the home buyer education.
You learn a lot.
Learn a lot. Program. Certainly, you hear from an attorney, a realtor, someone from MassHousing, another agency, MassHousing Partnership, which is a sister agency of MassHousing, which also has some great programs. You'll hear from an appraiser, a home inspector, so that you're really prepared. That consumer is really prepared to take that step into home ownership.
So a lot of us that have children, we members of the Lamar's courses. So I always tell people it's the Lamar's of home buying.
It really is. So make sure that everybody attends the class. Yeah. We want everyone there. Yeah. It really, I have three children, 33, 30, and 27, and they've all taken the first time home buyer class.
Oh, great.
None have purchased yet, but they're aware of the next steps. They're aware of programs that are out there, and there's so many opportunities that we want people to be prepared for, whether it be with MassHousing, whether it be with some of the other agencies. But there's some great programs out there. We have some great programs, and we talked a little bit about foreclosures initially. As part of our program, we have our MI Plus. Many people, when they hear about mortgage insurance, they always think about the negative pieces of mortgage insurance. But actually with us, we have insurance that protects homeowners if they lose their jobs. So for over 1,200 homeowners across the Commonwealth who may have lost their jobs with our MI Plus, we've been able to keep them in their homes, pay up to $2,000 a month of principal and interest, and make that community and make home ownership more stable.
Right. So do you want to talk about the new program that's coming out?
Certainly, the new program that's coming out. So we have our down payment and closing cost assistance program, which has been around for about a year now.
Why don't you describe that for us?
Sure. So our standard down payment and closing cost assistance program offers up to 5% down or $15,000. It is a second mortgage, but at 2% interest for 15 years. But what it does is it expands the opportunity when you're buying the home, especially with home prices going up at a much quicker pace than anyone would have anticipated. When you're out there bidding on the home and you find yourself maybe held back a little bit, it gives the homeowner an opportunity to use their down payment closing cost assistance to bid up, use those resources, and or to use them for closing costs. So you're not depleting all of your resources in buying the home. We certainly don't want you to be home rich and cash poor. So that's a program that we enhanced a bit in September. But we're still finding that in many cases in gateway cities, and Plymouth is not a gateway city, but there are communities, there are 26 gateway cities across the Commonwealth that we're finding that it's really difficult for homeowners to buy homes. So what we've done now is we've taken that same program and we've tweaked it a little bit. So now it's 3% down or $15,000 with 1% interest in many of the gateway cities, and we have a discount on the interest rate. So between the first down payment and closing cost assistance program and the second, and combining that with many other resources that are available out there to consumers, we think that we give a kind of across the board many more prospective homeowners an opportunity to buy, minimize some of the usage of their resources, and make home ownership a much more stable type of program. So that's going to start up on March 7th. Even with some of the other programs that are out there, we think that this is really an enhanced program. It is for 80% of area median income, which for Plymouth County, for those cities and towns in Plymouth County, that's about $87,000. So it's just another stepping stone. We've got that product, we've got our standard down payment and closing cost assistance program, and then we have all of the other products that are within the MassHousing menu.
So I think it's great that you're such a proponent of private property ownership.
Oh, definitely, definitely. No matter where you go in this country, the greatest opportunity to build wealth is through home ownership. And we know that whether you be in California, we're at one extreme, Boston or Massachusetts is actually at one of those extremes also. But still, whether it's starting with that single family home, that condominium, that multifamily home, the quickest way and most stable way of building wealth is through home ownership.
So we're in the 400th anniversary year for the arrival of the colonists. And one of the things I'm going to be talking about a little later in one of our historical documents I'm going to show is in 1623, the Plymouth colonists changed from common ownership to private property rights in order to encourage greater participation, corn at the time, to keep them alive during a starving time. And we call that the foundation of private property rights in America.
Yeah, it's amazing in driving through Plymouth and being in this area, because I have friends all over the country, but still everyone always comes back to, you're near Plymouth, you're near
Right.
where it all started.
Right, great. Anything else new you want to talk about?
Well, one of the things that is happening is we're finding that education is starting to change a little bit, and how we administer education from a home ownership perspective. Everyone now is using technology.
Right.
And so we're trying to move forward in that technology also. We certainly prefer that homeowners take a face-to-face class, but we also understand that with multiple jobs, with children, and just kind of general living, that many families have to look towards technology. So if you have families out there that are looking to take a first-time home buyer class and you can't do a face-to-face, there is also online where you can take a class online, you can do it at a certain pace, and it may take anywhere from 4 to 6 hours. At the end, you'll have a conversation, or you'll sit down with a counselor who will go through and review the process, and just to make sure that and ensure that you're truly ready and to make that next step. So for those folks who want to use online technology, want to use a tablet, want to use a phone, whatever the opportunity, that is there. And something also that I learned today, the Federal Home Loan Bank, the Equity Builder, which is another resource for first-time home buyers, is coming out with their grants for this first part of this year. So for those folks who are looking for another resource, the Equity Builder or the Federal Home Loan Bank is making their resource available I think within the next couple of weeks, and they will come out with a 2-tier program. We have a multi-tier program. They will have a 2-tier program also, which will come out at 80% of area median income in one area and another at 120% of area median income.
So we had a conversation in the hallway before we came in here, and you mentioned in your opening remarks about how you started during the housing crisis. And it is all about not only private property ownership to build equity, but it's about sustainable ownership.
Everything that we do, and I think any housing advocate, and certainly even from your perspective as registrar, we're concerned with stable communities. And I don't know of any community, city or town, small or large, that is not concerned about stabilizing schools, stabilizing housing, and of course, one of the issues is rent. We know that unfortunately we're back to that stage where many families are paying more in rent, substantially more in rent than they would pay for a mortgage. So timing is everything, and of course having the resources, the down payment to buy a home is very important, but understanding that now rental levels are going through the roof again, and we certainly don't want to place families in the same position that they were in 12, 15 years ago because they're paying so much in rent that now they have to, in many cases, relocate. And I'm hearing stories about that families are relocating because they can't afford rent. They're moving south.
Right, they are.
They're moving south and moving north.
Yeah. So that was a lot of great information. Can you share your contact information with our viewers? Certainly.
Angelo Nuby, MassHousing.com. A Nuby, so A-N-U-B-Y at MassHousing.com. My cell phone number, and please call me at my cell phone number if you have any questions, is 857-472-9010. And go to our webpage. We have a spot where you can sign in and you can get updates about Mass Housing periodically. It's our newsletter. So please go to MassHousing.com or contact me if you have any questions at all.
As always, great job.
Great, thank you, John.
Always good to see you.
Same here.
Great. So again, welcome back to the Register's Report. My name is John Buckley. I want to thank Angelo Nuby for the great job he did describing what Mass Housing does and some of the programs they're involved with. Certainly great information. Anyone looking to become a homeowner ought to go to their website and go to one of their training sessions. Holidays in February, we always talk about Groundhog Day in the 2nd. We're Red Day for heart disease awareness on the 7th. Lincoln's birthday on the 12th, Valentine's Day the 14th, Lithuanian Independence Day the 16th, President's Day the 17th, Mardi Gras Fat Tuesday on the 25th, and Ash Wednesday on the 26th. So a couple of our notable records from the county side, and then we'll go into one of our colony records. Abraham Lincoln's great-great-grandfather first settled in Hingham, Massachusetts, from Hingham, England. Came over in August of 1622 on the ship John and Dorothy. He was born in 1622, came over in 1637. There's a great church in the center of Hingham called the Old Ship Church. If you haven't been there, you ought to go in and walk around. He was a big part of building that. And he bought his house on what is now North Street, across from what now has a beautiful statue of his great-great-grandson. At the time, Hingham was part of Suffolk County, so a special thanks to Suffolk County Assistant Register Tom Ryan for helping us get this information together. In honor of Lithuanian Independence Day, I'm going to tell you about a great Lithuanian who grew up in Brockton, went to Brockton High, went to the Naval Academy, and then became a Navy fighter pilot during World War II. He became a commander of naval forces at both the North and South Pole and named a territory down there, Brockton, USA, Antarctica. There was a ceremony when they did a time capsule put into Brockton, USA, Antarctica that is scheduled to open in 2067. And last but not least, in honor of our President's Day month and holiday, it is Grover Cleveland, who owned property in Manamet. He was the only president to be elected president, defeated, and then elected once again to be president. And he hunted and fished down in the Manamet section of Plymouth, duck hunting, fishing, and he would stay at the Idlewild Hotel. If you drive past Luke's liquor store along the water, you will see that on one of the buildings down there. He later moved and bought a house in Buzzards Bay, and certainly was one of our unique presidents, having been returned to office. We always talk, as we're into the 400th anniversary year, about one of our colonial records. This one's an important one because this one was the beginning of private property rights in America. In 1623, the colonists decided, having been under common ownership, they were going to get a lot more production from the colonists if they had individuals own the land. So in 1623, they did a land division that gave people parcels of land so that they would be more productive, particularly with their corn production. So those things are something we treasure greatly, as we'll promote them more as we go forward into the 400th anniversary year. I want to thank Lorna Green Baker, Christine Richards, David Antoine, Keith Hughes, and Mark McKinley for helping me with the show today, sharing with people about their most valuable asset in most cases. And in this is President's Show. I want to talk about Mark McKinley's distant connection, but solid connection to one of America's greatest president, President McKinley. So thank you for watching this show. We'll see you next month.